In our last lecture, we have talked about the similarities and differences between direct and iterative solvers in solving linear equations. In this lecture, we will talk about Jacobi iteration, which is a very simple iterative technique for solving linear equation. Although this procedure is very simple and quite old, the theory of iterative methods can be very well understood from Jacobi iteration. So, as you remember that we are trying to solve this system AU equals B, and in iterative method we start with an initial guess, that is U naught. This 0 here indicates iteration counter, and when iteration counter is 0, that indicates initial guess. In iterative method, we create a sequence, that is U0, U1, U2, etc. U1 means value of U after first iteration, U2 means value of U after second iteration, and if we proceed in this way, we expect that as k tends to infinity, AU k minus B will be 0. That means that as I go for more and more iteration, we will reach more or less where AU equals B. So my AU k will be more or less equal to the exact solution U. In reality, of course, we cannot do infinite number of iterations. So at some reasonable point, we have to stop iteration. That is why we set a stopping criteria, and stopping criteria is set on the basis of this norm of AU k minus B must be less than epsilon, and epsilon is user defined, so we have to define epsilon in a particular problem, but it has to be a small real number. And when my AU k minus B value of this becomes very small, we can say reasonably that okay, my UK is almost equal to the exact solution. So in this lecture and in next few lectures, we will learn Jacobi iteration, this Gauss-Seidel type iteration, and in our next homework we will use Gauss-Seidel type iteration. We will write a program on that. The classical Gauss-Seidel method, of course, we will try to make it better using a tool called successive over relaxation. This will accelerate the convergence. That means it will reduce the CPU time. So let's take an example of Jacobi iteration. Let's take a simple system where this 10U1 plus U2 equals 11 and U1 plus 10U2 equals 11. And it's very easy to see that the exact solution of this system is both U1 and U2 should be equal to 1. Now we can use this equation 1, that is 10U1 plus U2 equals 11, and we can write this U1 equals 11 minus U2 by 10. And now we generalize this by writing U1 after kth iteration is equal to 11 minus U2 after k minus 1th iteration by 10. Similarly, I take the second equation, that is U1 plus 10 U2 equals 11, and my U2 is 11 minus U1 by 10. I can generalize this by writing U2 after kth iteration is 11 minus U1 k minus 1th iteration by 10. We can now start this iteration with some initial guess, and our initial guess in this case is completely arbitrary, that is U1 and U2 both are 0. If the initial guess is close to the final solution, then of course we'll reach the final solution in very few iterations, otherwise it may take a while. So let's see, with this initial condition of U1 equals U2 equals 0, how can we proceed? So in first iteration, u1 1 will be given by using this formula 11 minus u2 of 0th iteration by 10, which is equal to 1.1. Similarly, u2 after first iteration will be given by this equation, that is 11 minus u1 at 0th iteration by 10 equals 1.1. Similarly, u1 at second iteration is equals to 11 minus u2 at first iteration divided by 10, which is equal to 0.99, and u2 after second iteration is 11 minus u1 at first iteration by 10 gives 0.99. We can continue in this way, such as u1 after third iteration is 11 minus u2 second iteration by 10, which is 1.001, and u2 after third iteration is 11 minus u1 second iteration by 10, which is 1.001. If we carry on this manner, then after fourth iteration we reach 0.9999, after fifth iteration we reach 1.00001, etc. And we can clearly see that the solution converges toward the exact solution, that is u1 and u2 to be 1. We now wish to generalize this concept. So let us take an n by n system, n equation n unknown, which we can write as AU equals B system, or we can write using this summation Aij uj equals Bi, which for I 1 to n each I will give one equation, and in each equation A and U are multiplied and summed up over j 1 to n. In Jacobi iteration, we write u1k. u1k will be obtained from equation 1. That means u1k is b1 here minus all the remaining terms here. I can write that as a summation of j goes from 2 to n, a 1j uj k minus 1 divided by the coefficient of u1, that is a 1. Similarly, from equation 2 I'll get the u2, and I can write u2 of k is equal to b2 minus this a21 u1, this a21 u1, and this u1 I'll take it from previous iteration, that is k minus 1th iteration, and then the remaining part here that will fall the right side of a2 to u2 means minus of j3 to n aij, I here is 2 actually, a2j uj, and all this u I'll take from k minus 1th iteration divided by the coefficient of u2 here, that is a22. Please note that while writing the expression for u2, we already know u1 at kth iteration, but we are not using that. We are using u1 from k minus 1th iteration, and this is the specificity of Jacobi iteration. Later on in Gauss-Seidel iteration, we will take this u1 from kth iteration, means the latest values. Of course, whatever there within this summation sign, we don't know their kth iteration values, so we are taking them from k minus 1th iteration. That is quite all right. We can generalize this expression by writing ui of k, and the coefficient of ui will be aii, so aii comes at the bottom. Right hand side of ith equation is bi, so bi come here, and then summation of j equals 1 to n of aij uj, all these u's are taken at k minus 1, and we know that we will not take all of this, the ith u is going to left hand side, so j not equal to I. Other than that, n minus 1th aij uj will take it here. So this is the general expression. Now we can simplify this general expression slightly by writing this j not equal to I. It looks slightly odd, so we just remove it and we take all of them, j equals 1 to n completely. We don't write j not equal to I, and because we are not writing that, we have to take that out. So here I have a minus sign, so I am using a plus aii ui k minus 1. Then I don't have to write here j not equal to I. Now what I can do, this you can see here I have aii, here I have aii, so I can take this aii out and I can write this ui k is equals ui k minus 1. This is coming by dividing this aii, so they cancel out. I have ui k minus 1 plus ri divided by aii, and this ri here is bi minus everything else. So ri is in ith equation, this is b right hand side minus everything in left hand side. So you understand that in ideal condition, if we put the exact value of u here, then this ri should be equals 0. And you can clearly now see that the good thing about writing equation in this form, we get a very good idea that what we are doing here. What we are doing is that to get the value of ui at kth iteration, we are taking the value of ui at k minus 1th iteration, and then we are adding some correction with this. This correction depends on ri. Ri means in that ith equation, what is the difference between this b and au? That gives me the ri. If the difference between b and au are 0, then we know that we have reached the correct solution, and at that point my correction will be simply 0. So this form of equation gives us a very good idea. And also this form of equation that ui k equals ui k minus 1 plus correction, this remains same for all iterative methods. But how we calculate the correction, how we define the correction, that will vary from one method to another. And we are very clear about this, that when the solution converges to exact solution, I will get the ri to be 0, and when ri is reasonably small, then I can simply say that yeah, we have reached there. So before I go any further, I ask you to do some manual calculation. This is not about writing a program or anything. You take the same equation, but equation 2 you make it equation 1, and equation 1 you make it equation 2. And from that you will get this u1 as 11 minus 10 u2. u2 is 11 minus 10 u1. Now you apply the Jacobi iteration on this and show that how this u1 and u2 will go as we increase the number of iteration. This will be a very good exercise for you. And if you see that your solution is not converging, please ask yourself that why it is not converging. Come up with a reasonable answer. So that's all for this lecture, and thank you very much. I'll see you in next class.